I open my eyes to tell the second portion of our story. We see the black pixie's thin fingers cling to the rim of Quentin's hood. It peeked over the edge, staring into our eyes. We have to correct that. Would you stop looking at us? Its eyes moved to the vine-covered wall Quentin was walking beside. I apologize. Anyway, Quentin is more than a little nervous as he walked to school. What he had done felt like a dream over the weekend, until he woke up this morning. Then the gravity of what he did sank in his torso with panic. He walked to school, lost in his worst-case scenario thoughts. He didn't notice where his feet led him, until he realized his feet were walking on top of vines. His eyes followed the twisted greenery to a gate covered in more of the same. He stopped, slowly bent forward, peering between the green leaves autumn had yet to touch, to see a building beyond the gate consumed by moss. He could only make out a few dark windows and a door. "No need to worry yourself about that place," said an overly cheerful voice. He jumped, looking to his side. A woman stood there, with a Cheshire grin, her eyes wide, her dog on a leash, panting beside her, as she had stopped their mid-morning walk to talk to Quentin. A white pixie, only we can see, hovered next to her face, with the same facial expression as hers. It's the same 6-inch height as the black pixie, only as its body is all white, its eyes and teeth were black. For now, Quentin can only see it as a white blur at the corner of his eye, which alarmed him to say the least. So much so, his smile wavered. "Check your vibe," said the woman. "No need to be dramatic." He forced the corners of his mouth into a smile and said, "Sorry?" his eyes shifting to where the white blur kept appearing. He gestured at the place, straining to keep smiling, and asked, "What do you mean?" She hunched her shoulders toward him. "That was a hospital. No need to worry about all that negativity now. No one gets SICK or the D word." Quentin furrowed his brow, confused, but kept the smile in place, as he said, "But what about babies?" "Oh, people will always come to a safe haven like Eastville." She patted him on the shoulder as she walked away, singing, "Have a good day." Her white pixie's eyes locked with ours. I glared at it with a frustrated sigh. It looked away, its smile never wavering. I looked back at Quentin's pixie, its ears and hands still showing above the hood's rim. "You're lucky the white fate saw me instead of you." We lean in closer to it. "Hide better, or they will kill you." Arriving at school, Quentin walked through the sea of unnaturally smiling students and the hallway to his first period math class. It felt like it was his first day of school all over again, only this time there were white blurs flying through his periphery, along the sides of the Cheshire grin students, making his heart race, which added to this growing feeling of foreboding. Quentin was so distracted he ran straight into David, one of the friends he ate lunch with on his first day of school. "Sorry, dude." Quentin backed away, his overall manner pleading for forgiveness, not sure if David would still be angry at him enough to beat him up because of their last conversation. He looked up to see David's smiling face as he said, "No problem. No need to be negative." Quentin was so relieved his smile relaxed. David patted him on the shoulder. "Check your vibe, dude. Don't bring everybody down with you." Quentin stretched the unnatural smile across his face as one of his eyes twitched. David walked into their math class. Quentin sighed and followed. Quentin put his backpack on the floor by his desk. His eyes did a double take to the test lying on top. She put it in the machine. Yes! He looked at the bottom right corner and saw he got a B+, better than his pre-Eastville days, but most certainly not an A, which means it worked. He looked around to see who would notice. He stifled a chuckle at the thought of what everyone's reaction will be. The teacher stood in front of the class, waiting for everyone to settle down to start today's lesson. A smile ear to ear stretched across her face. Everyone picked their test up without bothering to look at them. Quentin's face fell. He started to raise his hand when a small voice from the back of the class said, Miss Nice?" Quentin involuntarily rolled his eyes at the name. He looked behind him to see the new girl, who moved here a month after his family did. She looked shocked and confused. She continued to say, "It says I got a C minus?" Miss Nice's grin flinched. "Sorry, Bree. Must be something wrong with the machine because you're new." Many students who hadn't put their tests back just yet glanced down, and many gasped, screamed for explanation for, "Why do I have a D? Mine's an F. I got an F." Miss Nice's Cheshire grin mask cracked with a tear as the students all continued to yell at her that she did something wrong, not them. She ran out of the room. Then the students turned on each other. David had fists full of Quentin's t-shirt, pulled him up, yelling in his face, "It's all your fault." "It isn't that easy," Quentin blurted out. David looked at him, confused. Quentin continued, "You know life isn't this simple." Suddenly, all the white blurs he was seeing came into focus. He could see the white pixies now, and they were not happy. David's white pixie especially. It was quite buff and sneering at him. Every other white pixie steadily drifted from their humans toward him, astonished. The black pixie crawled through Quentin's back and into his head, flew around in frantic circles telling him to run. Or Quentin's mind would be devoured to answer the question, why? Adrenaline pulsing through his veins, Quentin managed to break away from David, grabbing his backpack, and ran. David screamed at him, "You better run!" The white pixies flew in a massive white blur to get Quentin. One of them blurred through his feet, tripping him. The flock formed a thick bubble of white pixies, encapsulated Quentin, keeping him from running, until we intervened. An opening appeared in the bubble as we walked in. Quentin ran through it. They started to give chase. "Stop!" I ordered them. They did as they were told. "Wait for a few minutes at least before you chase him, or you'll ruin my story." I closed my eyes.